Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
We've seen this playbook many times. Whipping up of intimidation and threats of violence, hoping that the media will amplify it. Now, Jess Phillips does not need me or anybody else to speak on her behalf. But when the poison of the far right leads to serious threats to Jess Phillips and others, then in my book, a line has been crossed.
The Prime Minister there giving his most clear response yet to Elon Musk's recent social media barrage on British politics, and in particular the explosively inflammatory comments he made about Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips. He says a line has been crossed, so how will he respond? You're listening to Bloomberg UK Politics. I'm Stephen Carroll.
And I'm Lizzy Burden. Welcome to the programme. So Elon Musk has turned his social media megaphone on the UK in recent weeks. It's not just the UK, it's also other European leaders. But the tone and the tempo of the post commenting on British politics has intensified over the weekend. In recent days, Musk's been posting and sharing content around investigations in child sex abuse scandals in England. And in particular, he's accused the Prime Minister of failing to prosecute gangs that groomed and raped young girls when he was Director of Public Prosecutions. Musk even claimed on Friday that Keir Starmer was, and I'm quoting, complicit in the rape of Britain. Now, we've heard the Prime Minister's response, criticising the attacks on Jess Phillips and saying the government will get on with the job of protecting victims, including child sexual abuse, mandatory reporting, accelerating the processes. But it isn't just Starmer who's getting the wrath of Elon Musk.
No, Musk also turning on his previous political ally, Nigel Farage. Musk previously expressed his support for Reform UK and for its leader. There was even talk of that mega donation to the party, but that all appears to have gone sour too. Musk posting yesterday that Farage doesn't have what it takes to lead Reform UK. That's after the billionaire called for the far-right activist Tommy Robinson to be freed from prison, where he's serving a sentence for contempt of court. In his response, Nigel Farage says that his view remains that Tommy Robinson is not right for reform. Elon Musk has plenty of opinions about British politics. The question for politicians here is how much attention they should pay to someone who is A, the world's richest man, and B, a key ally of incoming President Donald Trump in the United States. We should also mention the numbers on Musk's popularity in the UK that were surveyed by YouGov in August of last year. 64% of Britons then had a negative view of him. Could his support end up being more of a poison chalice to politicians here? Well,
joining us now for analysis is Bloomberg's political editor, Alex Wickham. Alex, let's first just take a listen to Nigel Farage's thoughts on the situation. He was on the BBC. He was talking about Musk's support for the jailed far-right activist Tommy Robinson.
I think I've made it perfectly clear that I don't agree with everything he stands for, but I do believe in free speech. I think he's a hero, and I said that well before any potential money was offered.
So that was Farage speaking before Musk's change of heart about the leadership of Reform UK. But Alex, we heard Farage there doing his best to distance himself from some of Musk's views. Do you think he might be regretting his alignment with Musk in light of recent events?
I think definitely there will be some immediate pain for Nigel Farage. He has made it, I think what it's fair to say is a political miscalculation in tying himself to Elon Musk, going over to Mar-a-Lago, having a photo with Elon Musk only a few weeks ago, calling him a hero only a few days ago, as you heard there, only for Elon Musk to turn around, endorse Tommy Robinson, someone who Nigel Farage has long said is beyond the pale in Britain, and now for Musk to completely turn on Farage and call for him to be sacked as Reform leader. Certainly Farage will be licking his wounds today on that front. However, I do think sort of probably going forward a little bit in the future, Farage would be quite happy that the sort of circus that has surrounded Elon Musk over recent weeks, perhaps people can move on from now. He would not want any association with Tommy Robinson. This is a guy, Nigel Farage, who wants to massively expand his potential voter base in Britain. You know, he wants to be the next Prime Minister, he says. In order to do that, you need to go a lot further than just the core, very right-wing vote that he has at the moment as Reform. He needs to broaden his, potential voters, and having any link to Tommy Robinson would not do that for him. So I think what he would quite like now is for people to stop talking about Tommy Robinson, stop talking about Elon Musk, and start talking about, some of the other domestic issues that could boost Farage at the polls.
Is this actually an important test then for Nigel Farage and for Reform UK? They've been, caught up in the glitz and the glamour of being associated with Elon Musk, talk of major donations to the party. But is this actually a moment where Nigel Farage has to be very clear about what he stands for and actually could stand to benefit his political vision?
He had a real choice, the last 24, 48 hours, Nigel Farage. He could hitch his wagon to Elon Musk and say, look, yeah, this guy supports Tommy Robinson, but I still love him and I still want his money and I still want to not criticise him. Or he could have basically taken a stand against Elon Musk. As we heard, he tried to sort of very gently manage the situation in that little clip there where he sort of said, look, I don't agree with Elon Musk on Tommy Robinson, basically, but, I still think he got some merit. Obviously, that was offensive enough to Elon Musk's sensibilities that Musk just totally threw him under the bus after that. Now, if you're an ally of Nigel Farage today, you're saying Nigel stood up against Elon Musk and he said, I even though it's going to cost me £100 million donation or whatever it might have been, I said, no, I put my principles first. I said, Tommy Robinson is a line too far. I mean, the flip side of that is, of course, Tommy Robinson should be way beyond the line, being a multiple times convicted criminal and currently in prison and, on the extreme far right and all the rest of it. So I think, I don't imagine Nigel Farage is going to get too much credit for it, but my reading of it, speaking to people around Farage, is that they're pretty relaxed about how this is going to go forward for Reform.
But isn't Trump a convicted criminal? Are there not people in Reform, Alex, who might be thinking £100 million, maybe more if they wooed Elon Musk, sounds pretty nice in the context of Reform UK campaigning, who are thinking, I'd rather have that money and a different leader than Nigel Farage?
Yes, and this is going to be a developing theme over the coming months and probably years. There are people in Reform, even relatively senior people in Reform, who quite like Tommy Robinson and don't agree with Nigel Farage that Tommy Robinson is beyond the pale. And they really like Elon Musk and they really like the idea of Elon Musk's money. And if you're how do I put it? If you're an ambitious sort of mid-ranking Reform person, you might spy a political opportunity. If you can convince enough Reform members that actually we do need to move further to the right, we need to get in with Elon Musk, we need to get in with Tommy Robinson, even if we don't agree with everything Tommy Robinson says, we need to say he's a political prisoner and, he's a victim of the British state and he's only telling the truth about X, Y, Z. There are certain people to the right of Nigel Farage in Reform who are going to try and play that political game. And certainly another test for Nigel Farage over the coming months is whether he can back those people down and say, look, I'm the leader of Reform. I am the only person in Reform who has the political sort of campaigning ability to be able to, keep us in the news and keep us keep our poll rating high. And if we go further to the right, then we're onto a lost cause because that will just diminish our potential voter pool. That is going to be the key battle in Reform, I think, over the coming months.
So that's how we should be thinking about Reform's relationship with Elon Musk. But meanwhile, on the government benches, they've also come in for a huge amount of criticism from Elon Musk. And we heard some of what Keir Starmer had to respond to there. How difficult a line is this to walk? Because also, presumably, there's a concern about giving credence to what Elon Musk is saying, which, of course, ministers have described as being misinformed and ill-judged commentary.
Keir Starmer's been in a really tough position on this. I think he's in a much better position now after what's happened with Nigel Farage. If you look a month ago, British newspapers would happily splash on a headline saying that Elon Musk has criticised Britain's, investment environment or whatever, and take that very seriously. He's the richest man in the world. He's the president's right-hand man, incoming president's right-hand man. We've got to take what this guy says seriously. When he was boosting Nigel Farage and Reform, as he was until, 24 hours ago, that was a big political problem for Keir Starmer. He had literally the richest guy in the world threatening to bankroll one of his main opponents in British domestic politics. Even talking to Number 10 on Friday, they did not want to get into a slanging match with Elon Musk. Musk was tweeting very inflammatory things about the British government and British ministers, and they didn't want to engage. They sort of were very cautious and nervous about how to handle the situation. Now, I think Keir Starmer is much more confident about how to handle the situation. We heard him today go out and, basically issue by far his strongest rebuke yet of Musk and say that, he'd crossed a line and it was spreading lies and all the rest of it, that he's only been able to do that because Musk fell out with Nigel Farage, and that sort of threat apparently has gone of Musk backing Farage. Not the most, you could say that's not the most strong leadership by Starmer, and perhaps he could have done this a few days ago, but he's got there. And I think if you're Keir Starmer, you'd be quite happy at the moment, because this sort of awful threat that you had of the president's right-hand man campaigning for one of your opponents in Britain and trying to overthrow your government. Now the conversation in Britain is probably that Elon Musk has jumped the shark and decreased his relevance in Britain, and perhaps British newspapers, British politicians aren't quite going to take what Elon Musk says quite as seriously as they were before.
But he's still relevant globally. You can't ignore, as you put it, Donald Trump's right-hand man. People joking about actually Elon Musk being the president-elect and Trump being the VP. Who's going to be the Trump-Musk whisperer now? Sunak managed to seemingly woo him, Musk, at the AI summit. Really, can Peter Mandelson as ambassador to Washington pull this off? Who's left as the bridge, if not Nigel Farage?
Yeah, it's a really tough question, and I think a lot of where this goes next is what happens between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Bizarrely, talking to people in Labour, the Conservatives and Reform this morning, they're all sort of agreed that they don't think Trump and Musk will last as a relationship. And they're all saying now that they're sort of gently putting the feelers out to their friends in Trump world, saying, God, this Elon guy has got, he's a bit crackers, and perhaps you should, reconsider your relationship with him. And I think they are claiming, at least, that they're getting some sort of sympathetic response to that from some people in Trump world. Obviously, Musk has his own arguments with various people in Trump's base on immigration, particularly over there. So there has been this sort of strategy of hope from Labour, where they hope that Trump and Musk fall out and, they don't have to worry about Elon Musk anymore. That has now kind of gone wider, and the Tories and Reform even are sort of saying they kind of hope Elon Musk and Donald Trump fall out, and Donald Trump decides, actually, my relationships with various world leaders in various countries and various personal friends like Nigel Farage, something that I want to keep going, and I don't want to just completely back Elon Musk on this. Obviously, I don't think anybody knows what Trump's going to do on that, and that will remain to be seen. But I think that is another theme that we're going to sort of be getting at over the next coming weeks, is what does Musk's kind of escalation of his rhetoric online, or his radicalisation in terms of some of the political opinions that he is espousing, can Trump stomach that?
Okay, Alex Wickham, RUK Political Editor, thank you very much for joining us. That's it from us for today. If you like the programme, don't forget to subscribe, give it 5 stars so other people can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or wherever you listen.
This episode was produced by Tiwa Adebayo and our audio engineer was Sean Guastamakia. I'm Lizzy Burden.
And I'm Stephen Carroll. We'll be back with more tomorrow. This is Bloomberg.
Bloomberg UK Politics. Listen weekdays at noon on DAB Digital Radio in London.